Hello. This is maybe going to be the first episode of what I hope are a whole bunch of episodes about a special kind of person called, that I call a scanner. I'm not sure that's the best name in the world, but I started using it with a book of mine that came out in 1994 called I Could Do Anything If I Only Knew What It Was. Now that's a very popular book, one of my most popular. But one day I realized that most of the letters I was getting, and I get them every day, was from chapter 6, which was about people who had too many interests and couldn't choose just one. And the thing about such people is that they really, somebody called them very accurately, undiagnosed scanners. These people feel really, really bad. And my mission with this whole hopefully series of videos is going to be to have as many people as possible realize that they belong to this category of people, that they are scanners, often called other things. They're called bad things, dilettantes, but they're jack of all trades, but they're also called Renaissance people and polymaths, and people have lots of different names for them. There's not only nothing wrong with them, but they are lucky, bright, curious people, and they do have certain problems and they have to learn how to handle them. But the biggest problem of all is for them to realize there's nothing wrong with them. So we're going to be talking about that for the whole time, and the purpose is so that, and I want you to help me, I want you to go out and tell everybody you know who can't seem to find one thing that is good enough to stick with, or they say they're going to stick with it and then 2 weeks later they've got a different interest or they've lost interest. You know, everybody treats us as if it's a kind of an illness like ADD or a problem like, oh, shiny, I can't keep, but it isn't. It isn't. It's a kind of thinker. Most of them are unusually bright, very curious, they love to learn, and when they have learned what they want, they stop. Now, I have a book about it, and I'm going to be quoting from it, but I'm not trying to sell my book. I really am not. It's just that I get a lot of letters from people, and most of them refer to this first part, and I'm going to try to read a little bit from this first part, because this is what they're referring to. And then I'm going to read you a couple of letters, and then you're going to see why I'm doing this. Okay? Okay. This is my prologue. This is the book I finally wrote because chapter 6 was getting so many letters that I wrote a book entirely for these people who I call scanners. The book came out in Australia and England, and it was called by another title, which I like, What Do I Do When I Want to Do Everything? Okay. Now, here's the prologue. I should have realized I wasn't a normal student by my first week of college when I looked at the catalog of classes and started to cry. I was sitting at a table with some high school friends from my hometown, all of us freshmen, in a dark bar on Telegraph Avenue just outside of the famous Sather Gate, the entrance to the campus of the University of California at Berkeley. There were 5 of us girls, all 18 years old and trying to act very cool about the pitcher of beer we had legally bought that now sat on our table. Older students sat at the other tables looking sure of themselves, which we almost certainly did not, but everyone was intensely involved in the same activity, leafing through pages of the schedule of classes, quickly trying to find the best ones so we could register before they filled up. The best classes were the ones that started later in the day, or they had a reputation for being easy, or our friends were in them. My 4 friends huddled next to me and looked over the schedule of classes, trying to coordinate our courses so we could help each other through the first semester on this new planet. Like everyone who was accepted to the University of California, we were all reasonably smart. But as I later discovered, my friends understood how to study, something I had somehow never learned. For this reason, they had a more realistic idea of how many hours of work would be required for each class one signed up for. Unlike me, they personally knew people who had been to college, sometimes older brothers or even parents, and they had it on very good authority that college was a lot harder than high school. While my friends searched the schedule of classes, a small newsprint magazine that listed in the tiniest print when and where hundreds of classes would be held, I was reading another book. In larger print and a more leisurely pace described the content of all the classes. In easy-to-read English, the book laid out topics that would be discussed and the books that would be read. It was like nothing I had ever seen or imagined before. I could feel my mouth drop open in surprise as I read one page after another. My friends were too busy talking to each other to notice at first. "You can't take history on Tuesday at 10, Mary Lee," one of them said. "You have sociology at 10. "Do they really have classes at 8 in the morning? Why didn't you take trigonometry in high school? I told you it was easier. Why do we all have to take bonehead English anyway? Are we the only stupid ones here?" Everyone laughed and turned to include me. But I was in another world. Without looking up from the book, I started asking questions. What is a close reading? What is that? This is about a close reading of Russian literature. What does that mean? "Don't worry, you don't have to take that stuff," one of my friends said. "You're taking bonehead English with Sarah, right? You want Tuesdays or Thursdays?" "Oh my God," I whispered, turning the pages wildly. "They have the history of Western music. Do they play the music or do they talk about it? How do you teach the history of music? Do you have to read music to take this? Oh, look, ancient trade routes of Central Asia. Look, the golden peaches of Samarkand. Where is Samarkand? I want one of those peaches." Or are they paintings? Are they talking about a painting? The geology of history. The geology of history? Listen, the Himalayas rose from the ancient sea of Tethys, so now, nearly 6 miles above sea level, there are fossilized seashells, 20 million years old. I'm going to faint. Oh God, I had walked into the universe of learning. Nothing like this had ever happened to me before. Nothing prepared me for this catalog of class descriptions. I had never read about it in novels, and no one had ever spoken of it. I couldn't catch my breath. I'll stop there, and I won't tell you about the part where they noticed I was crying, and they asked me why I was crying. I probably should tell you that. They said, "Don't cry, what's the matter?" But I couldn't stop crying. I don't know, I sobbed. I'm so glad to be here. That's what I wanted you to hear, because that got a lot of letters. Right there, right there. The first email I got when my book came out was from California, someone who was parked in a parking lot outside of Barnes & Noble, and I remember word for word. He was emailing me from his car. He said, "Dear Barbara, I just bought your book, Refuse to Choose. I'm reading the prologue. I'm crying. I'm a guy. I don't cry." That's all it said. Or if it said more, I don't remember it. But clearly I had tapped into something important when I talked about that. I hardly realized myself what a big thing. But I want to read you some thank you letters, just really not to promote my book. If you read my book, great. I think it'll answer a lot of questions for you. If you join the book club that we run, and I'm not involved in it, but it is wonderful. It's online, you can do it anytime. I mean, you can sign up when it starts, but you can do it on your own time because it's online. People love it, and they really go through it slowly because there's a lot of stuff. The book is too long. They told me to cut it. I said no, so the print is very small. Those are great, but I'm reading you these just to give you an idea of what we're going to be talking about, because I'm going to be talking about things that aren't in the book on this whole YouTube series, which I hope will have millions of little episodes. And but let me read it. Another book that is essential to me is Refuse to Choose. Your description as a new student at UC Berkeley, that was me too. I did the same thing. I actually cried while I read your book. I am a scanner. No way I can fit in society's box that says we must pick one thing and become a pro at it, and that's that. Anyone who is interested in a lot of different things should read Refuse to Choose. My 18-year-old loves the book too. She is a scanner. And I mean, I love that because I get letters from people saying, "My kid doesn't know what to major and doesn't know what she wants to be for the rest of her life. What shall I do?" And I said, "She's 18. How is she supposed to know what did you know?" And nobody knows what they want to be for the rest of their life at 18, but we're supposed to know. Okay, maybe there's somebody who knows, but it sure isn't me, and it isn't anybody who seems to write me. Listen to this one. Hello, Barbara. I found your book Refuse to Choose the other night, or rather it found me. I can't thank you enough for writing it. After reading just the prologue, I realized I'm a scanner and there is nothing wrong with me. I'm 54 years old. I've been trying to decide what to do with the rest of my life since I was in my early 30s. Now I understand that I don't have to decide on only one thing. I've had 26 jobs, and I've spent less than 1 year at 21 of them because I got bored and didn't want to do the same thing again next year. Now I understand why. Thank you. My husband also thanks you. Okay, I don't want to keep reading these because I'm trying to keep these episodes short, which is almost impossible. I just want you to know what's coming. There's a whole world out there, but just remember what my mission is and what I hope you will help with. Maybe I'm describing you, and if I am, maybe you know you're a scanner and you're just enjoying this. Maybe you didn't know and you're as happy as the people who write me. Either way, and maybe you're not a scanner, but you know some. I want you to tell people to start watching this video. I won't sell anything, honestly. I'm not trying to promote anything. I just don't want there to, when I get emails or things on my Facebook pages about, you know, Barbara, I just discovered you last week. I'm 61. I think, yeah, but what if you hadn't? You know, why did it take so long? This book has been out for years. We can't, my mission, no more undiagnosed scanners, okay? There was a time when everybody knew that they were well-rounded Renaissance people and there was nothing wrong with it, but that changed. It didn't change very long ago. I was there, but you probably weren't. And now everybody believes specialty is the only thing. You go to a career counselor, they say you're good at everything, pick one. It's like, nobody gets it. Let's make sure everybody gets it, okay? Will you help me do that? It's so important. These are such good people. Scanners are good people. They really are. I'll tell you about them in the next episode. Thanks for coming. One more thing I want to say. Please comment below. I mean, great. Tell me how much you liked it. I hope you did. Or you hated it. I hope you didn't, but I'd like to hear about it if you did. But more than that, tell me what you want me to talk about. I mean, I've got a lot. I've got my bulletin board, and I've got letters I've gotten from people, and I've run workshops, and I've run scanner retreats. I don't run them anymore, but I've got all the notes and all the stories and a lot of clips from them, and I'm going to be showing them throughout this time. But I want to know in the comments below who you are, why you care about this, what you want from me. I really, really respond to questions, problems. Many of these episodes will be problems. People saying, how do I fit in all the things I'm interested in? Or how do I get a career when I can't stick with anything long enough to get anywhere? And there are lots of problems with being a scanner, but the answers are simpler than you understand. Because you haven't been talking to scanners, you've been talking to people who don't know what they are. So please leave me comments. I really want to know. Subscribe, of course. Subscribe because I'm going to shoot these out as often as I can. You don't want to miss one. Thanks.